start talking, but we'll just edit it out. Yeah, doing well, doing well. We're going to Florida next week, so it's much needed because the weather up in Scotland is, yeah,
Something to be desired. Yeah.
yeah,
So is that a training camp with some of your athletes down there?
yes, yeah. We got
Nice.
like kind of 12 of us, so yeah,
Brilliant.
yeah, yeah.
I think
How you been?
that's
What's the post-Olympic life been like?
yeah, I mean it's been pretty good. I was traveling in Asia for about 3 months
Nice.
with my girlfriend and from sort of September to December. So that was really fun. Just nice to have that freedom after the sort of intense
Uh,
training regime I've had for the
yeah.
last however many years. So
How did you find that like after the Olympics? Like how was that transition?
I mean, there was like inner peace. Definitely was definitely an
Yeah.
immediate feeling. Where it's just like relief slash like, is this really happened? Then it was just a lot of fun, excitement, seeing loads of people, just catching up, bit of partying after the Olympics, which was amazing. And then people talk about the post-Olympics sort of come down a bit, and I
Yeah.
almost didn't really have that for a while because I was traveling. There were so many new, exciting things I
Yeah.
was seeing, spending time with my girlfriend. But then I think maybe coming back to the UK, I started to realize, oh, well, I'm not going to be at a training center seeing my friends every day.
Yeah.
Like, you have to almost like arrange to see people, and it's definitely
Yeah.
just a bit of an adjustment.
Yeah. Yeah, the way I always described it when I was there was like it's like you're in school except you only have three classes and each class is PE and then you have a lunch long break and you're in your class is like 30 of your friends. So,
Yeah.
but then
I mean,
it's like hard training, but apart from that, yeah.
I mean, that's the thing. Like, there's so much good stuff and like fun stuff that goes on there, but then also like so much pain and so much stuff that like is you don't miss, right? So it's a balance. I mean, you can never have it perfect. I mean, it's yeah, it's always going to be hard to leave the sport, but
Yeah, I think the thing if I loved the process. I loved like pretty much like all parts of it, but the one thing I didn't like was the lack of freedom to just go away for like a weekend or just one weekend. You really can't getting out of bed and like just not getting out of bed like
yeah.
or like we would just like I was in this mindset for the longest time of like I didn't realize that I could go and just do these things like I
Mm.
think I reckon the first time after like I got glandular fever and then me and Pauline we just like went out in the middle of the day on like during the week when it was sunny and just had like lunch and like a beer in the sun and I was like what like oh, this is what it's like normal like
Yeah.
for real life. So
A weekend is 2 days where you can do whatever you want.
I know. Yeah. So welcome everybody to the Edge Rowing podcast. Super excited today to say that our guest is Sholto Carnegie. Sholto is current Olympic champion in the men's eight, world champion. He also had a successful college career at Yale, where he won the IRAs and the Eastern Sprints, as well as, under 20. I think he picked up quite a lot of medals and success through juniors and under 23s and everything like that. And yeah, Shoto, excited to have you here and hear more about your journey.
Yeah, well, great to be here. It's amazing to see the edge rowing background and yeah, see what's going on in this exciting podcast.
Yeah. Yeah, I think I remember do you remember Shoto when I think we were both on this like program or something. It was like for public speaking or something like that. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. And I think I was just like starting out edge rowing. I know people are probably being like, Jack, you've been on a public speaking course, but yeah. Yes, that's right. That was right at the start. So I can't remember if like you were looking at crew connection stuff then as well, but
yeah. I think it was more just like a few public speaking tips. But I remember one of the good ones was just like how to present yourself when you're standing in speaking in person. It's like so
yes.
important. Yeah.
Yeah, the posture one. Yeah. The breathing's a big one. The one I'm working on right now is trying to cut out the uhs and the
Yeah.
light. I'm bad for that.
Yeah, me too. Me too.
Anyways, cool. So, Sholto, the question we normally start off with is, what was it that got you into the sport?
Yeah, so I grew up in Oxford and I was doing a lot of sports all under the sun, football, rugby, cricket, cross country, you name it, a bit of skateboarding in there as well. I had to stop that
Oh,
a few times,
rad.
broken arms. But my sister started rowing, and she was a few years older than me and was having loads of success from like a J14 winning nationals and then the England team and then representing GB. So I sort of saw her the way she was progressing through the sport and getting that sort of national recognition. And I was like, wow, that's like a clear pathway to success. So I was sort of inspired by her. I was pretty small. I've always been like quite skinny. So I was starting very small, but just loved the sort of competitive aspect of the sport. Being able to like go side by side with someone and race them was something so like I think tangible. And that's what sort of drew me in. So spent from the age of J13 onwards getting beaten quite a lot
Oh, yeah.
up until I was about J17 when it started to click and I grew. But I think those were real developmental phases of my career. And I think every time you lose, you learn something new. And there was a
Hmm.
lot of learning.
What were you learning then? What if you can remember? I know it's a long time ago.
Yeah, I think it was just like knowing how to stick in a race, and like a race is never over until it's over. And the more I was involved with races, it was just like, yeah, how to, even if I was losing, how to lose by as little as possible, and knowing that like your opponent hadn't broken you, and then that
Hmm.
put them under more pressure. So I think from a young age at City of Oxford, going out in single and just doing lots of that was really exciting.
All right, all right, okay. So like, kind of jumping into some advice already then, but like, what say somebody was struggling then, like to keep up with competition, or someone moves on them, they get a foot, a length, they feel that kind of doubt start to creep in. What advice would you maybe give to, a young junior or anyone to keep that fight and stay competitive and race to the line?
Yeah, I think you've got to keep measuring yourself against yourself, and that's all you can do. And if
Mm,
you can narrow gaps or just stick at it, then you can say that you've done everything you can. And I think
hmm.
the more you do that, the more you'll be building this resilience and this mindset that will sort of help you going forwards. And I think like yeah, more exposure to racing is just beneficial. And without even realizing it, you will be learning, and you'll be learning how to stay calm under pressure. You'll be gradually picking up a few tips that will sort of sit in the back of your memory, but actually if you can sort of bring them into the forefront and think every time you go out to race, well, what did I do well? How can I do that even better? What didn't I do so well? And
Yeah.
evaluate these things. The process improves over the years and you'll sort of learn so much more about yourself.
Hmm. Yeah, that's interesting to hear, because I don't want to say I came in with any like ideas about the way that you rode and raced and stuff like that, but I heard kind of from a couple people in the GB team that you were quite a like very competitive and like really liked racing, and I maybe had the assumption that that was about like beating people, and not that that's obviously right or wrong, but it sounds to me like you're pretty internal with how you approach it.
Yeah, definitely. And I think like even in a race, like even the Olympics, like I didn't look out until 500 in. I was just like in my head, I was just like, right, I've got to do my job to the best of my ability. And if I'm looking out the boat, then I'm distracting myself and I'm taking away from doing my job to the best of my ability. So even then, like a little look, peripheral vision, but then I've got to be like so dialed in. Um,
Mm. But if you
so
were in bow seat, you probably would have looked more.
I was embarrassing.
Oh, right. I mean, yeah,
I wasn't
okay.
about to, and but you can feel, you can feel a little bit in the race. But yeah, no, so I was in the four seat for the 2022,
That's what
2023
that's what
season,
I
and then
thought. Yeah.
got the ticket up in the bow seat for the big one, which was a lot of fun. Best view in the house.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. Cool. Cool. So do you think that approach, that sounds like quite a mature approach pretty early on as a 13, 14-year-old. Do you think that was what started to progress you then at that early age?
Yeah, I think ultimately it's just sticking at it and just seeing where it will go. You don't put too much pressure on. I was just like, okay, well, I'm going to do another year and keep doing as best I can, and then see how that goes. And then if not, I'll try another sport. But for now, I'm just going to really commit to rowing for a year, and then another year, and then just see how sort of it continues to stack up. And then I would say like there was a bit of a pivotal point age junior 17 level at trials where I out of nowhere from starting at the early ID trial, starting probably like 150th, I think, and I came sixth. And like,
Holy.
yeah, so then that sort of confidence that I got from that I ran with it pretty much. I
How
grabbed
many
that.
people did you overtake? You must have overtaken like 20 people.
Yeah, there was a fair few. Yeah, it was trying to get through the wiggle through everyone. But yeah, that
Is
was
that at
like
Boston?
yeah, Boston.
They
Yeah.
had 150 scholars go at once.
Yeah. So it's the
I
early
didn't
OD
know they
trials.
had that many go. Holy.
Yeah.
Anyways, okay. Um, so all right. Um, what was your first like what were the I want to just circle back a little bit and understand kind of what the appeal was a little bit more of rowing for you. What was the draw of rowing compared to all the other sports that you were doing? Was it mainly your sister or was it, as you said, the kind of like internal maybe competitiveness of it?
Yeah, I think there's a combination. I mean, rowing's a pretty special sport for a number of reasons, but one, it's one of the few team sports that's a race, which is really exciting. It combines
That's
both, which are
true.
two
Yeah.
things I love to do, like race and be part of a team. And then another aspect that I love about the training is you can go out rowing, you push away from the riverbank, and like it's just you. Like you don't carry any of your problems into the
Yeah.
boat. You can just focus on your craft.
Yeah. One um point someone raised to me like a while ago was you can't go on your phone as well, which I didn't realize. Like, because I do this now. People who follow me on Instagram stories know I'm always like, hey, like
Mhm.
checking, like seeing notifications. But yeah, it's a great form of kind of isolating yourself. Awesome, cool. Right. So, then seeing your sister's success coming into it and then not tasting success early on, was there any element of doubt or pressure that you felt?
Yeah, I mean, definitely. I mean, anyone who doesn't feel doubt or doesn't feel pressure is lying. Like I remember going up I think it was the Strathclyde National Championships when I was J15 and I
Strath
didn't make the A final in the double and I was just so gutted. Um
Strathclyde National Champ, because that's the region that I in
yeah, the
Glasgow.
Strathclyde Park, but a number of years they used to have the national championships up there.
Oh, okay.
Um and yeah, I mean I didn't make the final because I would just get so nervous. And it would mean so much to me. And I think I'd almost feel more pressure and more nerves than I did now. So I think it was
Oh,
like
really?
a combination of learning to adapt with these nerves, but also learning to sort of harness the nerves and like use them to my as like a power going forward instead of letting it sort of paralyze me.
Yeah, I like that. I like that. That's interesting. I remember when I first started, I think my first ever 2K on the erg and my first ever race in the single, the beginner single sculls at Bucks. In 2013. I was crippled with it. I just felt sick. Couldn't sat in the car. Just the race kept getting delayed and stuff like that. And I was kind of happy that it was getting delayed, but then obviously it wasn't leaving. So, um, all right. So that first single sculls race, then, you you was that your first chance to get selected for GB?
Yeah, it was. And it was a big deal because I mean, like I said, I was quite a skinny kid, and even to get the erg cut off was quite a challenge. So I remember having to do lots of prep and lots of pieces outside of my training, my club, just to get to that standard where I could
Right.
pull the erg score. And I remember being ecstatic about like I've made it to GB trials, and I was like so excited to go. So to perform at that level and like get up there and amongst the sort of the top dogs of the junior circuit was like a
Yeah.
incredibly exciting for me, and it was the first time I sort of had that success.
hmm What did you like just get the arc score?
Yeah, I think I had to get below a 650 at rate 24, and I think I got a 648. So yeah,
Yeah. They
it's enough.
really don't want they really want to find the kids that are like 6'6", massive, at least you know that
Yeah,
that erg score for me. I don't know if it's changed, if they still do that, but it's certainly favors like the bigger scholars and not
yeah,
necessarily the
definitely.
faster ones.
Yeah, definitely.
Okay. Um, right. And then what was that first feeling like of getting sixth place, maybe exceeding your expectations massively?
Yeah, I mean it was amazing. I think, like I said, I took it and I was like, I almost like started to believe I could do it. I think that was why it was such a pivotal moment. I ran with the confidence, and I think in rowing you've got to have that belief, and you've got to almost be your own cheerleader. And I think that's
Yeah.
what was really important with that result. It gave me that, it validated that I could perform and I could be
Hmm.
amongst the best, and almost like it sort of ignited that fake it till you make it type attitude.
Oh
And I
yeah.
was gonna run with it. Like, yeah.
So hold on, were you faking how good you thought you were before you got that sixth place, or was that sixth place the start of you beginning to believe in yourself more?
Yeah, it was the start of believing in myself, I think. And it sort of was like, okay, well, I've done that. I must be good. So I'm gonna
Yeah.
act like I'm good. I'm gonna believe I'm good. And then it just sort of blows from there.
Yeah. Yeah, I like that. I like that. Okay. And so much of it is the mindset stuff. And you get the DMs all the time. What's the best 2K session? What supplements should I have? Where I really like to hear that. It's you talking about your mind and how you use that and how you approach handling it. Um, that being said, what were some of the sessions? How did that look for you to do it? Because I'm sure there's probably some juniors out there listening that are trying to get one up on whatever. How are you approaching doing more?
So yeah, back then it was a lot of the time I was in my single and I was rowing it in the Oxford stretch. So I only had 2K and I was trying to replicate the long distance trial. So it was basically what I do is I do 6K but with two spins in it to try and replicate it. So spinning as po quick as possible and like practice sitting in that sort of that zone where I was on the red line but
Yeah.
sort of pushing it and getting comfortable there. I think that was what was important for this long distance like test. It was learning how to be
Hmm.
stubborn with myself and like keep going and almost think like I'm gonna keep pushing harder because I know other people aren't, and I'm gonna try and each sort of 1K see how much I can sort of believe in myself and push myself more than everyone else.
Were you going out on your own? Or was a coach there or something like that? Like, how are you?
A lot of the sessions I had a coach, but actually my dad had like a really pivotal sort of support network within sort of my junior rowing sort of seasons. So I grew up in Oxford. There's a riverbank, and my parents would come and support the coaches because it was all sort of volunteer coaches. So there wasn't necessarily enough coaches to support everyone.
Hmm.
We had great coaches, but you also needed people to cycle on the river, make sure everyone was safe. So both my parents sort of helped me a lot with that, which was really special to have them part of my journey.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. Okay, okay. So first big races then was that junior worlds or was that under 23s or something like that? Like what were the next steps after that trials performance?
Yeah, I mean, so that summer, the first sort of big race was the Coupe. So I raced in the Coupe de Jeunesse, which is sort of like
Yeah.
the just below the World Championships. But I mean, like I said, that season wasn't without failure in itself. And I raced in the under 17 single at Nat Schools and was fastest in the time trial, fastest in the semi-final, and then flopped and came fourth in the final, or maybe even fifth. So I mean, even then it was still failing, learning from
Mhm.
the failure, moving forward, and seeing how I could continue to improve. So
Can you remember what it was that went wrong?
yeah,
Long time ago.
I think I just took my eye off the ball, and I think it was almost the nerves that paralyzed me. I think knowing that I was like good and I was fast made me even more nervous. And then I was like, off the start, I didn't necessarily commit and keep it as simple as I could do. I mean,
Yeah.
subsequently, as I learned, it's just like, okay, you've just got to do what you can do, and don't think about the end result.
Yeah, that's interesting because I remember like when I would train well, and if I technically was rowing better and my erg scores were getting faster and I was going to an event, I almost felt more nervous when it was going well because it meant there was more pressure on you because if it doesn't go well, then it's more you screwing up rather than, you just didn't prepare well.
Yeah, yeah, and
Um,
it's trying to realize that and like have that sort of awareness that that's happening, and like
mhm.
the part of the
Yeah,
mind wants to sort of derail you to make you be like, oh, it's okay if
yes,
I don't do well, but actually various like mindset tools and mindset strategies that are important to sort of help you develop. And
yes,
that's like a lot of stuff that we work with, like at Crew Connection with our athletes, is a lot of the mindset stuff because a lot of that is
yes.
unlocking their true potential.
Yeah, I love the mindset stuff as well, and that the awareness is a big thing. And It's often just the first step. Like that having that as the only step is such a massive step, and it's you getting control back.
Mm.
I
Yeah.
think a good example, we had someone actually sharing in our in the group chat, like rather than you saying, "Oh, I feel nervous" or whatever, it's I notice that I'm feeling nervous, and that something like that can just help you get a bit more aware. So,
Mm.
um, it's cool to hear about how reflective and kind of introspective you were with all your
Mm.
racing, and again at a young age. So, I'm really enjoying hearing about it. All right, so maybe didn't go well then. Moving on to the next thing was kind of Coop and some other junior races then.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that was a lot of early exposure to crew boat racing as well. So I was from a small club, so a lot of it was in a single, which
Yeah.
which which I love the rowing, but I always just longed for that team aspect to it. I mean, I'd go in a few doubles, a few quads, but the squad wasn't massive, and other people were sort of exams and sort of academics was getting more serious. So some people prioritize that over rowing.
Hmm.
Um, so actually, after my junior 17 year, I moved to Marlow Rowing Club from City of Oxford. So it meant that I would be commuting sort of 45 minutes down the motorway from Oxford to Marlow every day, which was like a big commitment, but it definitely helped me because I needed that step up. I needed sort of to row with people
Yeah.
who were pushing me and better than me. So I rowed with Harry Glenister, who was in the squad with
Yeah.
both of us, Josh Kent, who was at UL and did under 23s, and then Charlie Simon, who was another guy there who was
Mm.
really talented athlete. So yeah, that was a really exciting year. Definitely much more sort of scientific in the approach. But like I said, the continuous like as a young athlete trying to absorb as much information and as many different sort of training philosophies and technical ideas as possible.
Yeah, cool. Did you like yeah, that's huge, huge. It's so intangible being around people that are, just better than you or just slower than you and having that environment. You can have the best program or the best mindset approach, but there's something like that will just I remember like in the GB team being around 30 people all focused on the same thing, doing the same training program. It's just training had never felt so easy in my life when I was there. But then I guess maybe because I relate to what you're saying when you were a junior, because in my journey I spent friggin' 8 years basically in a single by myself. Um, you learn so much about yourself, and I think you get taught lessons at a faster rate when you're isolated like that, don't you?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it's all you. Like, it's all you, and you have to sort of you really have to be at one with the boat. So I think that's why I was like scullers who swap to sweep, they almost have like more success in the pair to start with because they
Oh
can
yeah.
relate that, they can feel that. And then as you get into bigger boats, you can sort of adapt and have that sort of technical adjustment. But yeah, I mean the lessons you learn in a single are invaluable. And I mean everyone, however fast you are, if you row in a single, it's going to be a useful tool to sort of yeah, figure out
Hmm.
certain elements of your technique.
Hmm. Hmm. Okay. So going into the bigger crew, did you have any initial difficulties in that change of environment and that kind of maybe more competitiveness element?
Yeah, I mean, I've definitely stepped on a lot in terms of my speed in the single, got quicker because I was being pushed by people the whole time. But also it was like now I was coming to my last year of school, like I'd made the coup the year before, like I wanted to be like the top guy in the country in the single. So I set these like big goals for myself. I think that's something that I've always done throughout my rowing career, set goals that I almost think are unattainable. And
Yeah.
sort of that sort of pushes me to believe that they are attainable and like gradually work towards them. So
What is
that
it?
was
Shoot for the aim for the stars, and if you miss, you'll still land on the moon or something like that.
yeah, no, it's exactly
One of
that.
those
And like
cheesy quotes, but it's true.
you've you've got to get like if you're setting these big goals, you've got to get used to having this goal in your mind. So then you learn to understand that it can be feasible.
Yeah.
Um, so I mean it's sort of this idea of like manifesting and manifesting is
Yes,
a bit of a buzzword at the moment,
it's
but I think
true.
like a lot of athletes do it without realizing it, and it's really
Yes.
powerful tool.
Yeah, yeah, 100. It's funny that you mentioned that because I'm just reading and learning a lot right now about the science behind manifestation and just embedding intentions into your subconscious and the power that it has. It's cool that you're saying that, but it's maybe why that's why I always think that people with big egos are successful in sport, not yeah, because they're selfish or because they want to win and they want to do better, but they believe that they can do it.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I mean, you've got to believe. Like, no one's. I mean, sometimes a coach might say you can do this, but like the most powerful person who's going to tell you can do something is yourself, and you're going to be
Mhm.
with him all the time. So the more you can
Yes.
will yourself forwards, the better.
Yes. I love this stuff. Oh man, I could just friggin' talk about it
But
all
but
day.
it's a skill. Like you don't just suddenly wake up and like, oh yeah, I'm going to be able to manifest. You
Yeah.
have to like learn that positive self-talk that's happening
Yes.
all the way through, and it's practice. It's practice.
Yeah, 100%. Like that's what I always say is like if you say I need to go for well from you, like you say Sholto, you're J13, you're placing here, and by J17 you want to go here. You know that's not going to be in one jump. And what I've noticed is that people expect to make these mindset changes in one jump because it's so hard to like grasp it. It's so evasive. Whereas if you approach it as you're saying in a step-by-step manner with a bit more patience, that's something that people struggle with.
Yeah, definitely, definitely. I think that's like, I mean, another thing that I think has been pivotal for my career is the consistency, and it's got to be consistency of training, consistency with
Yeah.
mindset, consistency with approach, and like by being consistent with everything you do, you're gonna make these incremental gains.
Hmm. Yeah, cool, cool. I love hearing that. So, I don't I know I don't want to take up the whole time just going each going on each of these tangents, but moving forward then. So, junior career progressing nicely. I think because I also remember when I was trying to get into the GB team and I was like 23, I wasn't even under 23 anymore. I think it was maybe like 2014, 15, 16 or something like that. And I wasn't going well. I was maybe bottom of the pack. And then I would see juniors start to go really quick, scullers, and I'd be like, go away. And I remember you and I remember Seb as well. And I think Seb, for those that don't know, Seb Devereaux, I think he rode with you quite a lot, didn't he, Sholto?
Yeah,
Uh,
we were a dynamic duo in the junior years and also the gap year we had together. So it's a
yes.
lot of fun. Yeah.
But yeah, I remember you guys having like climbing the ranks pretty quickly. But then the saving grace for all aspiring scholars in the UK is that all the US colleges go and recruit you and then take you away from and then turn you into a sweeper. And it's just like, yes.
Yeah, we go over to America and we join the dark side.
Yes.
But I mean, it's yeah, we have a lot of fun doing it. But as one's a sculler, always a sculler to a certain extent.
Mm, yeah. Yeah, maybe that's the one thing I didn't get to do was side by side eights racing. I did it with Strathclyde Uni. Um, but or maybe we only did one race and we didn't beat many people. But
Mm. I
anyways,
mean, that's what we do. I mean, at Yale, that's what we did every day. It was two match dates. You do a bit of drilling. I mean, like most days, you do side by side pieces, and like each day, like piecing, rowing hard, we were limited with time, so we didn't have enough time to do the sort of long, steady state that we do in the national team. So with a short
mhm,
amount of time, we just we learn how to push ourselves and row hard and have a lot of fun doing it. Like yeah, that side by side element is definitely I was already good at it, but it definitely stepped on a lot. Like learning doing that every day. You learn how to compete. You learn scenarios. You learn how to knowing
mhm.
when to like step on, knowing when to hold strong, and like yeah, it's definitely like a skill.
Right. Yeah. I remember I'm a bit of a rowing nerd, especially with the footage. So there's a good YouTube video of you as well of your crew. And there's like this side by side the eights racing, I think, or something. I think
Yeah,
so.
yeah. I mean, there's quite a few good Yale videos from sort of back in the day, but
Nice.
fond memories. Yeah, knocking heads against each other on the Housatonic and lots of whooping and hollering across the gunnels and just having fun.
How did you find that change? I've heard from Brits going to the US that there's a bit of a not a culture change, but just the kind of like attitude in general in the sport, just the way
Mm.
people approach it. Did you notice any difference?
Yeah, I noticed like a lot of difference. I think it was definitely like a positivity that was quite infectious that I experienced at Yale. I think it was idea is like we're gonna go roam, we're gonna take it really seriously, but we're gonna have a lot of fun doing it.
Yeah.
And that was definitely something that I absorbed quickly and absolutely loved. And I think sometimes in like junior rowing would be like we're gonna be really focused, we're gonna do this, and it was almost like
Yeah.
uber focused and a bit nervous, not like, well, oh, we're gonna have fun with it. We were just
Yeah.
like, we're gonna do it. And that was a shift I really enjoyed from America. And anyone who's sort of interested in going to America, like, don't worry, like everyone's a bit nervous before you go, but like straight away you're thrown into a team of internationals, Americans, and it's a team of like 40 or 50 really like-minded people, and it's a support network and it's a family straight away. So I mean, yeah, everyone's sort of going through the process together, and you get taken and looked after. So it was
You
a
get your
culture
laundry
adjustment.
done before you, don't you, as well?
We do, yeah. That is a big plus in the boathouse. Every boathouse, you like get a peg, and you put your uni suits and your sort of kit in the peg, and then the next day it's hung up on your locker, and it's
Yeah,
definitely
big
definitely a
deal.
big plus.
At Strathclyde Uni, we had a power outlet that I could plug my microwave into and heat up my porridge with. So
Yeah, exactly. Swings and roundabouts.
pros and cons, pros and cons.
Exactly.
Um, okay, cool. Yeah, the whole college experience looks cool, and it's such a cool opportunity in sport. It just seems like to go and do that. Um,
Yeah, I mean it's exciting. So yeah, similar to you, Edge Rome, we support athletes going through their sort of application process and also helping them with their training and improving their 2K and
yeah,
yeah, like mindset stuff around that. So we offer like a pretty comprehensive package. But whenever we get an athlete who's pulls a good 2K and it's going to improve their ranking with a coach, or whether they get admitted to a university but they're really excited to go, it's really infectious. We just have that. We're so excited for them. It's really like rewarding
yes,
to see that. I'm sure you feel exactly the same when you see that success amongst your athletes. It's as close
yeah.
as you get to sort of feeling it yourself almost.
Yeah, and maybe I don't know, like maybe that's the kind of team element that I was maybe missing out on through the start of my journey. I was always coaching when I was in the single, so there was kind of that doing it together. That's a different feeling, and maybe seeing that change and that approach in someone from a different perspective is it's cool to experience. And then it's always new. It's always a challenge, isn't it? Like with each person, it's you just build that skill set in terms of how to adapt to the individual. What are some of the big difficulties that people have in getting recruited or getting into a college? Yeah.
Yeah, I think sort of the number one thing we see is athletes almost like selecting which college they want to go to too soon and putting all their eggs in that basket and realizing, thinking that they just need to speak to one college, and if they speak to other colleges, they're going to like hurt with that college's feelings. Um,
Yeah.
what's really important is they should set their sort of their net really wide and sort of think about lots of universities and speak to a lot of universities to understand them. So if, for instance, if your top choice doesn't go to plan, then you've got to back up. Or if you go and visit your top choice and it's not exactly what you expected, you can speak to another school. So that's sort of like the number one thing that we've noticed people doing, and we're sort of trying to help them sort of cast their net really
Yeah.
wide. And then like another thing is just like trying to help our athletes with consistency of training. I think that's
Mhm.
that's a number one, and also like the mindset tools to help them be consistent with their training to allow them to have that improvement that they are capable of on sort of their water performances and their erg performances.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, the pressure that the some of the juniors that again, we don't really work with that many juniors, but when we do, just the pressure, the pressure that they're under is immense, what they
Mm.
have to go through. So and at such a young age. So yeah, the mindset stuff is huge. Okay, yeah, I'd like to hear. I want to hear more about the recruitment side of it and what you guys are doing at Crew Connection as well. But also want to go into the kind of Olympic stuff and the GB stuff as well first. So, you were kind of getting GB under 23 senior stuff kind of as you were at Yale. Is that right?
Yeah, so I was in the under 23 team. My first year was on my gap year actually, which was still sculling, and then
Right.
I went away to Yale. We raced Henley the next year, so we didn't do under 23s. And then I was part of the men's eight in 2016, where we got a silver medal, which was incredibly proud of because that was my first sort of international hardware. And then the following year, we raced in all Yale four. And sadly, we were going pretty well. We were setting some sort of under 23 records, and then we came down ill, and we came second. But I mean, in my head, that was a year where I was gonna become a world champion. That was like gonna be my
Yeah.
year, and it didn't happen. And I guess that was like another learning opportunity, definitely sort of hardening.
What
And
did
what
you
made that,
learn?
I think I learned that like you've got to be so diligent and you've got to be able to win on your worst day.
Yeah.
And I think that was something that we talked a lot about in Paris. Um, so yeah, definitely like a hard experience to go through. And what was even harder is one of my best friends from Yale was in that crew, Rob Hearn, and
Right.
he just swapped. But the year before, he'd swapped to represent GB because he's got dual citizenship. And sadly, Australia beat us, and they were being pretty
Ooh.
loud on the podium. And I was just like,
Ah.
it was almost just so hard for me for him to have that pain.
Ah.
Yeah,
Brutal. What were they being like? Sorry, I'm trying not to swear. Were they being mean about it? Or were they just like a bit obnoxious and like shouting a lot?
a bit of both. I mean,
Okay.
like, but but
The Aussies seem to do that because there was that guy in the bow seat of the four one year at the World Champs and they won this race and he pretended to like pull out a bazooka and go like that. Do you know what I'm talking about?
yeah, I do. Yeah, it was the when was that? That would be the 2017 four
I think it
world
was.
world champs. Yeah, and Italy had sprinted back on them, but they just held on. Yeah, I think I remember that.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
But I mean,
Uh,
every rowing program and has their sort of
characters.
their characters, and I'd say probably I don't know what they think about. Think about the GB team. I think they I don't know. I think famously I think we'd heard that they think we don't have very good physiques, but somehow we're still fast. So we're not. We've all got slight dad bods from all the UT2 training.
Yeah. Oh, that's funny. Yeah. Well, they didn't do that well at the Olympics this year, did they?
No. They had a tough one, but
So
I
get it
mean,
up, you Australia.
yeah, but I mean, like we did in Tokyo. I think
Mm.
every period of not doing so well comes with a period of the year before of learning and stuff. I'm just gonna quickly
Mm.
plug my light back in. Sorry.
Yeah, no worries, no worries. That's funny about the Australians and the dad boards.
Cool.
Cool. Okay, cool. Yeah, so I know jumping around here a little bit. I maybe get a little bit too obsessed with the staying in chronological order. But anyways, Tokyo, you were in the four. I remember watching that race, and I don't want to come in here with my ideas or anything. And but I remember seeing your race. You guys went guns blazing, went for it. You know, Blue basically just ran out of gas in like the last 100. Again, correct me if I'm wrong here, but like ran out of gas and just it's I'm just explaining it for those that haven't seen it. But total gutsy performance. I thought it was like I loved watching it. Just for that brutal side of it, and that you could see that you guys had given everything, and I always thought that's what it's sports about is just going out and going for it and not being afraid and the media's reaction was so bad. I thought it was so bad the way they handled, the failures and everything like that, and all like how it was so bad that you didn't get this performance or whatever. And the pressure on you guys there. What was it? Um, Sorry, I don't mean to twist the knife at all here,
No,
but
no, no, no. It's
was
fine. I
that
mean,
the first four? Like the headlines were is like the record of the fours winning had ended. Was that right?
yeah.
There must have been
I
like
mean,
how was that experience? How was that experience for you? I know you're talking a lot about like learning
yeah.
from
I mean,
difficulty.
it was about as hard as experience I've ever had. I mean, the just the immediate was disbelief. Like, had that really happened, we'd let that moment slip by. And then it was almost felt like loss of like almost like a grief, like disappointment. I mean, I was proud that we all stuck together as a crew because that was
Yeah.
a really like special bond we all had. But yeah, it was really hard to go to get through. And it was what was even harder is like I came back to England and all my friends and family had been watching, everyone I knew had been watching, and then everyone was saying, "Oh, I'm so proud of you." But it almost felt like I didn't want to talk about it because I wasn't proud of myself, and it was almost like that. Yeah. So I mean, I had to kind of bottle those emotions a bit, understand them, process them, but ultimately, um, it pushed me forward, and I wanted like redemption. I wanted to show like show that I could achieve what I believed I could.
Mm.
So it was, yeah, it was a lot of hard moments and some hard times. But I mean, I stepped away from the team for a little bit. I came back in January, so I had a period where I was in
Right.
London doing some work experience and actually just training on my own. But actually, I was putting in a lot of miles on my own, just to figure out areas I could strengthen. So I was evaluating my technique, evaluating like my physicality, and actually this is where a lot of like the mindset stuff that I was doing like really helped. So I
Mm.
pushed on that a lot. I worked with like a sports psychologist who was incredible and really pivotal in my career. And
Can I ask who it was?
yeah, it was Stephen Feeney. So
Oh,
yeah, yeah, we
I'm a huge fan of Steven. Yeah, he's done some
yeah,
work with us as well. Because that's
yeah.
cool that you're saying some of the stuff. I'm like, that's like I've heard like I was like, where is that coming from? But that's cool. Yeah, Steven is
Yeah, I mean,
great.
we've had a great working relationship, and he was really good at like holding me accountable for consistency with these mindset principles, because I think that's what it comes down to. It's hard to actually think like if you're on your own, like make time to do this mindset work because you're like, oh, I'm tired, maybe I should just relax in between training or something. But
Right.
actually having a mentor, having someone to hold you accountable
Yes.
means you keep going with them and like have that consistency with approach.
Yeah. Yeah. And remind, because again, it's so hard to like leave this stuff. It's not like you see the thing, you have 16K on the program, you start rowing, it's 1500, 500. It's with the mindset work, it's so easy to just leave it there. So,
Yeah, or get
um,
lost, or knowing how which direction to go with it, or which area is going to help you. So yeah, it was a lot of discovery and a lot of help with Stephen. So it's really cool.
Steven's awesome. Yeah. Kind of like again, maybe feel free to just be like, no. But is there any lessons or any like I'm curious to know what it was like to work with Steven one to one. He's done great work with us and our group, but yeah, what was that experience like? What was the change or even just like maybe some of the things that he would talk about? And you know what, as well, I'll cut here. I'll ask Steven if it's okay to share any of this stuff. If you want, we can
Yeah,
just cut it out um,
yeah. I mean,
beforehand.
a
But
lot of it was like checking in with myself. And like, so I came up with like trying to figure out when I would do this. So when I was driving to Caversham, I'd get in my car, I'd stop and like spend a couple of minutes being like, okay, what are my intentions for today? How am I going to keep it simple? And how am I going to like, when my attention drifts, how am I going to nudge myself back on? And just like having that moment to pause, like 2 minutes,
yeah, yeah,
just made my whole approach to Caversham so much more intentional and
you
so
wouldn't do
much
it in
more
the middle of
focused instead of
the road, would you?
no, no, no. In the car park. Don't worry.
At a red light,
So
go!
yeah,
What were
yeah. But
the
it,
what
but
were the
it's. I mean, it's
intentions?
so.
Oh, sorry, on you go, on you go, on you go.
I was just saying, it's so easy to get caught up in Caversham because the days can just slip by, or the UT2 can blur into the next session and sort of a phase of a haze of fatigue, and actually
Mm.
having these simple sort of check-ins and these simple processes. But I was sort of trying to push forward just made my whole approach so much clearer and was so much more sort of it was marked so much in such a sort of progressive way.
Yeah, cool. I'm loving hearing this. What were some of the intents that you would like? Could you maybe give me an example of what an intent for you would be? And then when you get distracted, what would you do? How would you bring your
Mm.
bring your awareness there? Like, talk me through maybe an example.
Yeah, I mean, an example would be like at one point I was finding 30 minutes. We do a 30-minute rate 20 every Wednesday, really hard to do, and I was finding myself really fatigued. And I was occasionally set some pretty big scores for my weight, and but as a lighter guy, trying to consistently do those stronger scores with with the amount of training load was
Yeah.
was quite challenging. So we worked on sort of trying to figure out ways to simplify the process for me and actually not overthink the whole process. And it was like I wasn't gonna. It was called not stacking the hurdles. So I wasn't gonna think about all of the 30 minutes in one go and get worked up by every single sort of every 6 minutes if I needed to pull a certain score to get the end result. I was going to take it one step at a time and actually just focus on like the first 2 minutes, then the
Oh
next
yeah.
2 minutes, and the next 2 minutes, and then through that approach, I achieved the end outcome, what I was capable of on that day, and I wouldn't get worked up about the end result, but I needed to get from the start. So it sort of calm me down and give me like a almost like a road to go down instead of just going down the whole road at once, just one step at a time.
That's so cool. What would you think about in say the first 2 minutes? What would you be thinking about? Is it the split or technique or what?
Yeah, I mean, it was like set on a split and then also like trying to have some non-negotiables with the technique. Like I wasn't going to let myself like slip into bad rowing just to try and get a score because yeah, shoulders up, like
Yeah.
leaning back too far, doing all sorts of stuff that happens on these like 30-minute rate 20s that you see
Yeah.
sometimes. So yeah, I was gonna like yeah, set long rowing, clean separating, appropriate like length of swing, that those sort of metrics.
Right, right. Cool. And then I'm just enjoying hearing about this. So like would you sit down the day before, maybe with Steven, maybe on your own, and plan out what each 2 minute would look like, or is it a bit more kind of fluid that you just knew all you had to think about was 2 minutes at a time?
Yeah, I mean, I'd sit down probably before half an hour before the eye test, jot it down on my phone or a piece of paper, like what I wanted to like plan out the test. But more the day of, I was gonna like arrive in the car park. I was gonna like set the sort of emotional approach to the day and actually that sort of checking in. And then this would sort of progress on a weekly level. Like how was I various techniques or how was I like keeping it as simple for myself? So sort of doing like a slight audit of my emotions and my processes.
Right, right. Cool. Cool. Okay. Again, another maybe a bit more of a personal question. So you can leave it or just go into a little bit, or we can edit it all out. But just after Tokyo, you said just a couple things there that maybe got me interested is the wrong word, but I was just wanting to curious, like what was it like? What did you feel went wrong for you? Maybe what had you feeling that you had maybe I don't know you weren't proud or you let yourself down at all like
In the sort of the Tokyo experience, do you
yeah
mean?
after that just yeah from some of the stuff I know it's
Yeah.
like 5 minutes ago or so but
Um, yeah, no, I think it was just like not being as present as I could have been in the moment and letting almost like as a collective, maybe letting the moment slip through our fingers. I
hmm
mean, we definitely had a lot of stuff we did well. But I mean, I think yeah, to a certain extent, we there was stuff that could have been we could have been sort of mentally more sharp and more consistent. I think that was something that we didn't necessarily get right for that whole campaign. We'd have really good races, but then periods of training where we weren't very consistent, and then good races and period of training where we weren't very consistent. And it was like trying
right
to improve on that. And I think that was something that I definitely brought into the Paris Olympic cycle. Was I wanted to absolutely nail that consistency
mm.
for myself. But then I also think there was a lot of challenges that were thrown at us that year. We were young. We hadn't had necessarily the right experience.
Yeah
We'd been through COVID, so that was almost like a pressure cooker of just like so much tension built up. We'd done our training camps in a different order than we used to, and that like meant we were certainly more like fatigued coming into the event than we might have liked to. We'd had a holding camp where we couldn't row. So there was a lot of tough stuff that went wrong, but it was also just facing up to what I could do better and like having a really honest conversation with Matt and evaluating my weaknesses and then spending the time away from the team doubling down on them. So then I could approach the next Olympiad with a really clear head and just like total confidence that I was doing the best job I could.
do you think you would know what you know now about your mindset if it hadn't been for the Tokyo result?
Definitely not. I mean, I think it was a really hard experience and I wouldn't wish it upon anyone, but I'm so much stronger from it now and I've learned so much about myself that I can
Mhm.
sort of yeah, I can go to a really hard place where but really tough emotionally and pull through. So I've sort of taken confidence from that.
Okay. Maybe a stupid question here, but if you could go, but like, would you rather have won the gold in Tokyo and maybe it gone a bit, quote, better, or would you rather had it happen the way it did?
I mean you'd always rather win because like me and Rory Gibbs won, but then we had Ollie Cook and Matt Roster, and like I'd love them. Like they're amazing athletes and they're so deserving of everything in it that the world can offer them. So yeah, I mean, you always want to win, but I mean, I can't complain how it's gone. I've learned so much. I'm always like proud of my journey,
Mm.
because I don't think like everyone's been through a lot to get a gold medal, but I think me and Rory Gibbs have definitely been through a hell of a lot as well to get there.
Yeah.
So,
That was one thing I remember when I quit, and again, I didn't race at the Olympics or win the Olympics. But when I think it was actually when I got my first GB vest, and it was such a long process to get it, and I had a lot of people that were supporting me, but I was so close to quitting before then. And I was like, a few weeks before that I got selected, I was close to quitting. And I remember when I got selected, I had gotten all these congratulations about how great it was, blah, blah, blah. And I was still appreciative of it. But my first response was that if I had quit 3 weeks ago, I wouldn't have gotten that recognition from other people. And there was kind of a hollow element to it because for me, what I was most proud of was the journey that I went on myself. And it made me realize that nobody, even the people really close to you, they'll have an idea, a really good idea, but they won't properly know what it is that you've been through. And it takes exactly like you're saying before, it takes you being your own cheerleader and looking for these positives.
yeah, yeah, completely. And like, I mean, I'm in a fortunate position where like I've achieved like everything I wanted to in rowing, but almost like the thing that I hold most dearly is the journey. And it sounds cliche and everyone says that, but like
Yeah.
the friends you've met along the way, the funny moments on a training camp, the fun of racing, like everything just like, I mean, it like goes into like the montage you have in the back of your head of like everything that's got you to where you are today. But it was like, yeah, I mean, it's just, yeah, been a lot of really special moments. I mean, with a lot of hard moments and a lot of pain and a lot of suffering at the same time. But that's what makes the fun and the exciting moments so
Mhm.
much better. Having to like have that sort of hard journey to get there.
Yeah. And that's the cool thing about coaching as well, isn't it? Is that you've taken that experience of everything else in your journey, plus Tokyo, what you learned after that, and you're helping people just learn those lessons in a shorter time. So, and that's where the evolution of the sport is, and I think maybe led by people like Steven as well, and people, yeah, like us having this conversation that these things, these new areas where people can find improvement are what's progressing the sport. So,
Mm,
it's
yeah,
it's
completely.
it's
And
cool.
people are still gonna like lose a race or have their perception of failure. But hopefully like we can be there to teach them that that's not a bad thing and it's a good thing. And actually people like you fail upwards
Yeah.
and the more you lose, the more you learn.
Hmm.
And so yeah, hopefully people can take comfort that people but me, you, we've all had these journeys and that's what's made us sort of the athletes we are and the journey and the sort of where we are today.
Yeah. Yeah. Cool. No. Yeah. So interesting. I love this stuff so much. Um, what were the kind of so you mentioned the changing in the your approach and checking in with yourself daily. Was that the big habit change that you had with your mindset going into the Paris Olympiad, or were there other things that you continue to work on? Summarize that question like what changed going into Paris?
Yeah, I think it was definitely the mindset approach, but also the awareness that I needed to be incredibly consistent, um, and also for almost like prove to everyone that I wasn't going to be defined by Tokyo,
Yeah.
and and almost like having that like that awareness that like I was going to have this even bigger uphill battle because I hadn't achieved what I wanted to in Tokyo, and I didn't want to get labeled by that. I mean, I was still incredibly proud to go to the Olympics, but I wanted to show that I was capable of reaching the top. And it almost felt like, I know it probably didn't, but it almost felt like I could imagine, oh, someone talking about like that, or the coaches talking, oh yeah, he didn't do well in Tokyo, so
Yeah.
is he capable? And I'm sure they weren't, but almost that like that those thinking about that was
That
like, no, I'm
insecurity.
going to
Yeah.
show them. Like it was almost I was back in that like that kid at City of Oxford who was incredibly skinny, and I was like, it's like chip on their shoulder mentality. I'm like,
Yes.
I'm gonna show them all.
Yeah. There's nothing better than proving someone wrong.
Yeah, yeah,
I
yeah.
I remember that was a big reason why I finished my maths degree was because my cousin said I wasn't going to be able to do it. And there were points when I did want to stop, but yeah, it's fun proving people wrong. As much as you shouldn't be externally motivated.
No.
So like it sounded like the start of your journey, juniors, under 23s, college, had been relatively internally motivated. Did that like was that a newer thing where you wanted to change the way you were perceived a bit more external?
A bit, but I think no one's like totally internal. It's knowing when to take the external factors, like the big goal of the Olympics or proving someone wrong, setting them as your North Star, and then knowing
Yeah.
when to dip in and out of being internal, working hard internally, then dipping
Yeah.
out of them. So it's like incredibly important to sort of have that switch. And I think like thinking about like the Olympics, like there was so much pressure. A 5 minute race was like where it came down to everything. But if I thought about that when I was sitting on the start line, then it would cripple me.
Hmm.
Or like if I thought about that 100 meters ago, I was like, oh, I might become Olympic champion. No, like that was going to take me out of the moment where I was trying to lay down as much power through my aura as possible. So you've got to know in the big moments when to be aware of the atmosphere, but so process driven and keeping it so simple for yourself that you can like do your job to the best of your ability in those high pressure moments. Because
Hmm.
if you would get too excited, then you're not gonna perform. But if you're too calm and passive, you're not gonna perform. So like another one
Yeah.
me and Stephen talked a little bit about was like imagining that like I was like having like a rev counter in the car where you have like you're not too over rev, you're not too under rev, you're sitting in just the right position on the start line, ready to perform, ready to excel.
Yeah. Yeah. So, um, yeah, an analogy I like with that is maybe similar to what you're saying is it's kind of like your external goal is the top of a mountain and you're trying to get there. You don't get there by just staring at the mountain and like walking at it like that. It's kind of like
Mhm.
the process is the little falling down trees and streams and stuff like that. And you want to check where that mountain is every so often, but it's that, as you said, that those steps in front of you, those simple steps. So,
Yeah, I
okay.
love that. That's really cool.
Yeah. So what were your simple processes then going into Paris? Bending the oar, power?
I mean, yeah, I mean, I was on the start line. I was thinking like, okay, first of all, like timing with everyone. Like, second of all, like I was thinking like, how can I get as long as possible and accelerate my stroke as long as possible so I can make sure everyone's feeling that sort of acceleration in the bow seat. Um, and yeah, I mean, just trusting, almost like trusting the simple processes that worked really well for me in the past.
Hmm.
Um, and sort of embedding them when it really mattered. I mean, we've done so much technical work up the mountain in Silvretta in a Viz, and like through that whole year, we've been really focusing on like a few fundamental aspects of our technique. And it was just like the more we do that, the more ingrained they are, but we still had to focus on them heavily when it really mattered.
Yeah. Yeah. That's I don't know why I'm just remembering this now, but I've had Rory on and then I've had Rudkin on.
Mhm.
And it was funny because Rudkin was like talking about how much he liked Steve's approach, where it was your coach, Steve Trapmore, very, very technical, very focused. And then Rory was kind of talking about how he thought that it was too technical and too much talking. So it was interesting to get those two different perspectives.
Yeah, I mean,
What,
I probably sit somewhere in the middle of the two because you got pretty polar opposites in terms of the bonus there. But yeah, Steve does bring that fire to it as well. But I think that's the beauty of an eight. Like you've got all these different personality types, and you mesh them together, and you have that clear communication between everyone to align for a common goal, and everyone brings something different and exciting to the table.
what do you think you were bringing to the table?
Um, I think that belief, I think that positivity and that belief. I think interestingly, Rodkin said to me and that the only two people who he's met who firmly believe that they're going to win a rowing race as much as anyone else is me and Charlie Elwes. And I think there's something that, but when we go into it, like yeah, you've got to think you're going to win it, and you've got to trust that you're going to win it. So I think that, and I'd like to think that like when the pressure builds up, that I have that clarity and get up for it and change those nerves into excitement. And yeah, I think that there's some of my strong points, and hopefully I can bring to every crew I'm part of.
Yeah. The belief is certainly something that helps massively. I think there's a lot of people, I would say most rowers struggle with belief and struggle with s- similar to what you're talking about at the start, where there's those big, hairy, audacious goals
Mm.
that seem like too much. So for you, was there any element of you'd believe it and you'd say, okay, I know we can do this. I know we can win. Um, was there any element of a voice that would come in and say you can't do it, or like talk me through that belief process? Because I think there's something, certainly something in that for a lot of people listening.
Yeah, I mean, I think it was trusting the performances that we'd done before, and we'd done
Okay.
a lot of really good performances. And when we hadn't been afraid to lay down our full potential, we knew that we'd be hard to beat. Um, but it was respecting that there will be other crews, and if we don't perform our best on the day, we will get beaten.
Mm-hmm.
So it
Respect.
was it
Yeah.
was it was having that like being really up for it and not being arrogant, but almost being having that like aggression. But we were going to go out and have that ferocious attack to the race. But I mean, it takes years to build up. But I
Yeah.
think you've got to trust yourself. And I say to my athletes that I'm working with, like you are more capable than you believe. And I think the more they do that, the sort of the better they get. And sometimes like some athletes will do like some pieces or some short pieces where they put the erg screen down, and they'll put a score that like they didn't really believe they could pull, but they've done it. And I was like having that sort of that switch and like that
Mm-hmm.
attitude shift, especially as we're working with young athletes. Their rate of improvement is so high,
Yeah.
but it's almost like tricking or allowing the mind to catch up with the body.
Yeah, and that's what I think is so powerful about manifestation is just with whatever we see around ourselves and maybe people at our club or we subconsciously go, okay, that person started at the same time, they're the same height, whatever, we're in the same boat, we're friends, therefore I'm capable of what they are, or they see stuff online or they read a post and it just gets into their subconscious and they start to form this limit around what they can do. And yeah, a lot of the time it takes training your mind on your own or the external input of a coach.
Yeah, exactly. I think like when I was a junior, I'd like hear of people who've gone to the Olympics or see people who've gone to this, and I was like, wow, they must have like perfect technique. Every stroke they take must be perfect. They must be the most powerful people ever. And like, yeah, you have to be at the Olympics, you have to be pretty good, but they're human still. Like every Olympian has probably, if you're listening to this, has probably been as fast as you are on the erg or on the water at one
Yeah.
stage in their career. And like people should take comfort in that they can achieve great things because everyone who's been Olympian has been there and has experienced probably the circumstance they're going through today or the sort of mental block or the training block or an injury. So yeah,
Yeah.
the road ahead is positive, and you've just got to like allow yourself to keep going.
Yeah. I remember I think probably my first impression when I first got into the GB team was Matt Rossiter, who was in year four in Tokyo, who was probably like like maybe one of the top stroke side guys at the time. He had just finished a 30 by 20 and it didn't go the way he wanted it to, and he was like, damn, I just like I backed out on that. Like I was mentally weak on that one. I definitely didn't push myself as hard as I could. And I coming in, I thought, I was like, these people like Matt Roster must just be savages, and every erg and every session is just perfect and they push themselves to the limit every time. But having been around that, I realized like well, it was really like kind of big moment for me that I was like, oh, they are just human. And there's another time when I was at Edinburgh and in Scotland, and the guys there, and yeah, there was both the men's and women's squads were really strong. So I remember just they were a lot quicker than me in the single, but then being around them, I was like, you know what I mean? Like it filled me with this belief that they are just people as well.
Yeah,
Cool.
completely.
Cool. Okay, so what was that feeling like when you guys won? I'm trying to not ask cliche questions. I feel like you've probably been asked this 100 times by now, but what was it like?
I mean, for a minute, it was like God, has that actually just happened? Or is this like a dream? And then it hit me, and I was just like euphoria. Like
Yeah.
we were just like going mental because I mean, it's like it was I mean, there was a lot of emotions, a lot of like that's the one we wanted for so long. And for it to for finally happen was incredible. And then almost like a lot of emotion. I mean, I cried like seeing my family and friends because, and my girlfriend. I mean, they like everyone had like sacrificed so much to allow it to happen and so much support. But it was yeah, it was amazing. But almost I felt like almost on the day, almost you feel so almost sorry for your friends and family because you just, and my mum, my poor mum. I just knew how nervous they would be, and they can't do anything about it. It's torture for them. And I've been through that disappointment in Tokyo, and I didn't want to like yeah them to sort of feel that again. But but ultimately it was do my job on the day, and then enjoy whatever happens afterwards. And fortunately, I did the best I could on the day, and we and so did all my amazing teammates.
Yeah, I was in the stands watching, I remember.
Nice.
No good for I wish I was watching it on the TV, to be honest. I didn't I could barely see the race. But
Yeah.
no,
Yeah.
cool. There was a great environment and everything. So what was the next kind of like few months like then? What was the and then what was the kind of experience like adjusting to normal life?
Yeah, I mean, it was. I mean, after you finish at the Olympics, all the sort of the houses of the different nations, the GB House puts on a party, all the other nations put on a party, the watch brand Omega put on a party, Oakley's put on a party. There's constantly exciting things to go and see and do,
Any
and you
stories? Any crazy stories?
not many that I can remember or tell, but certainly a lot of fun. And yeah, I mean, it was almost like we party a lot. I mean, I'd be during the day going and watching sports and stuff, and I'd come back to have a nap, and I was like having a nap, and then I'd remind myself I'd won the Olympics, and I get so excited again. So it was almost like yeah, it
Yeah,
was it
yeah.
was a busy period. I mean, I don't think I think I didn't really stop for about a month, which was yeah insane.
Cool. Cool. Okay. And what do you do? Like, what are you doing now? Well, I mean, I know, but yeah, like tell everybody else what you're up to now.
Yeah, so now I'm running an athlete advisory business where we advise athletes on how to apply to the US to get recruited. We work with athletes like men, lightweight women, and sort of walking them through the whole process. So it goes from sort of training advice, how to sort of optimize their training, and then we do sort of nutrition, mindset, everything. And then a lot of it is like pacing strategies on the erg.
Yeah.
And then it was also the sort of technical stuff around recruiting. So helping them sort of network with various recruiters, understand where's right for them. And then before Christmas, one of the big things we were doing was helping a lot of our athletes with the sort of essay writing. And each school so has sort of you need various supplementary essays to sort of showcase aspects of your character. So we're helping a lot of our athletes with that, which was actually really interesting. I really enjoy writing, so I write for various different rowing magazines and rowing sites. And it was really interesting to just hear some of the athletes we've worked with on like different levels, like their academic sort of background. It was really exciting hearing different perspectives of their lives. So yeah, and then sort of everyone submits their application. They've got support from the universities and the coaches, which means if you get support and you get a recruiting spot, your chance of getting admitted are pretty much like 95, 99%.
Mm.
And then a lot of athletes have sort of heard back in the last few weeks
Oh,
or the
cool.
last month if they applied early action where they got into their universities, and we've had a fantastic success rate. So yeah, all of our athletes have got into their first or second choice. Most of them their first. So it's been an amazing year. For Crew Connection. I mean, I work with my business partner, Jack Gosden Kay, who was a rower at Cow. I think he rode with you a little bit, Leander.
He was there when
And
I was there. Yeah, we weren't in the same
yeah,
boats. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
but I mean, it's exciting. We've got a few other GB athletes who are working with us as well. We've got Dave Ambler, Flo Donald, and Rowan McKellar. So it's an exciting team, and yeah, I mean, it's what I actually really enjoyed. So we've been set up for sort of a year and a half, almost 2 years now. But going in through the sort of training and the build up to the Olympics, like speaking to some of my athletes made me so inspired because it actually made me appreciate the small things. But as a sort of an athlete who's been on a national team for 6 or so years,
Yeah.
you don't think about the small things, and actually speaking to some of them, then it really made me appreciate them, and it was actually really cool.
Yeah. Yeah, I totally resonate with that because yeah, when we deal we're mainly coaching masters and people aren't doing it to win an Olympic gold or anything like that or some people have had those goals, but it really did make me appreciate the internal side of the sport again and what what it can do for people's like mental health or just general health or just stress relief or just purely, you know, getting out in the boat and
Yeah.
feeling the boat run and stuff like that. It made me appreciate it in a totally it refreshed, I think, that feeling I had at the start. So
Yeah, I
um
mean, it's a lucky sport. I mean, it's something. Yeah, when a boat's going well and gliding, and this it's just very meditative and yeah, really exciting.
yeah. So are you like is that do you think you're gonna maybe do some more rowing at, you know, clubs or Leander, stuff like that? Are you maybe gonna see if you might go back and take a year off? Or yeah, have you
Mhm.
decided yet? Or like, yeah.
No, no, haven't decided yet. I think at the moment, taking time away, keeping fit, doing other things, and just enjoying a bit of freedom. I don't want to put pressure myself into making any decision yet. So yeah, at the moment, taking time away and just seeing how things pan out. I mean, I love rowing, so I'm always going to be involved. But yeah, in the process of figuring out next steps. I'm actually racing at the Lenny Peters Cup. Me and James Rudkin are doing that, so that's USA versus the rest of the world in April. Which should be
I
should
feel
be a
like
fun.
USA would lose that.
Well, yeah, we got a strong team with
The
rest of
rest
us.
of
I think Simon Van Dorp's doing that as well, so it should be a fun team racing singles, doubles, and quads. So
Oh, okay.
yeah, got to
My
get,
invite must be
get
in the post or something like that, I
yeah,
think.
yeah, yeah. We'll get you coaching team world.
You don't, yeah. Okay, coaching, maybe. You don't want me in the boat right now for sure.
Yeah, well, I've got to get some fitness back in my system.
Yeah.
So
No, cool. Okay. Okay, cool. So yeah, like where can people find you if they're maybe interested, they thought about recruiting or even they're just like I'm guessing you know juniors as well, like looking to just get faster, get into the 1B
yeah.
or whatever. Yeah, what
Yeah.
should they do?
So we've got our website www.crewconnection.co.uk. We're also active on Instagram. And then we've also just started a podcast. So yeah, we had Steve Gladstone on last week. Got various guests who have to get you on at some point, Jack. And yeah,
Yeah.
it's a fun medium to just spread the word. We also have a lot of free resources because we work with various athletes, but also we want to spread the word and help as many people
Yeah.
on their pathway to the US as possible. The more people rowing in all different sort of high performance centers, the better.
Yeah, that's the cool thing about content and social media is like, you know, you get to a point where you're at capacity, you can't take on any more people. Uh, the content's a great way to find new people when you look to take people on, but then it's just you can help so many people at such a big scale. So, cool. Okay, so yeah, www.crewconnection .co.uk and then Instagram is it crew connect is it like crew underscore connection or I'm guessing it'll pop
Yeah,
up if you search
yeah,
it.
crew underscore connection underscore. So yeah, we got as good as possible domain name with that. So
Who's got crew underscore connection? Nothing else.
I don't know. I mean, maybe it's a dead account, but but
You gotta
yeah,
you
we're there.
gotta
So search for us. Get in touch if you have any questions. We're more than happy to help, and it's always exciting to hear everyone's
Awesome.
rowing journey.
Awesome. Yeah. So Sholto, thank you so much for coming on and sharing the highs and the lows and what worked for you. And it's so cool to hear that and you helping people make similar progress or go on a relatively similar journey to you. So thanks so much for coming on and yeah. Cheers everyone.